Now we will look at the practical part of the database handling, and then we will see what we can do next out of it. So how we can define the data model, how we can define the DAO, and how we can define our database class, how we can initialize that particular DAO object within our activity, and how we can perform different we can work on different database operations. So let's start with an empty activity. Okay, next, this is the main application, so let me change it to instead of having the main application, let me go into, I'm saving everything in my projects, that will go into the ucall d big 7, and we need to give that particular specific name of the application. So we can say that this is our db database demo in video lecture. I think I will need to use the same name here. Maybe I can put the spaces here in that folder name, but of course we can't put that particular, so we have the name in that particular specific project, and then we have it will be saved in this particular folder. That will be our package name. Everything else is set, so we say finish. So it will create me that particular specific database project. It is working, so let it finish the work and then see how it goes. In the meanwhile, I will just try to copy those lines of the room libraries so that I can add them in my Gradle file. I think it is almost done indexing. Yep, it is done. So what we need to do first, that we need to go into our build.gradle file, that is an application Gradle file. So once we go there, we have that dependencies, and inside that dependency tag we are trying to put this particular specific. So we have the version number 2.1.0, and then we have those room runtime and the room compiler libraries that we want to add, and when we say sync, it is going to sync and it will say that everything is fine now. Fine. So the first thing is that we need to create a data model. So what we are going to do here, I right click on this particular the Java classes, Java file, Java code is there. So I right click on that. I say that I want to create a new Android resource directory. No, not the resource directory. I want to create a package. Okay, so I want to create a package, and I give the main as a model. Okay, so I say that, or we can say that our data model. So we can say that this is our data model. So inside this particular specific data model, we are going to create that particular specific class, that is student. As we have already added those libraries, room libraries, so we can simply say the add rate of entity, not entity, press enter. So if as soon as I press enter, it automatically import that AndroidX.room.entity annotation definitions from us. The second thing is it should be a public int sid. So we define that, then we say public string first name, capital N. Okay, where's my name? The third thing is not private, public string last name, and then if let me what we can do, we have that. So I'm just trying to last name, then we have public string username, and then public string, okay, password, and then we have a public again string, we can say that gender, and then we also have again public string what's happening with my keyboard, maybe I can use the other keyboard here. So mobile number. So these are what you can say that these are the different what you can say that these are the different fields in my class. Okay, and then if we just try to, as you know that by default if we have keep that entity like this, then the table name within our database will be the student, and we want to override that particular specific thing. So I say that table name, and then I give in the students. And the other thing that we want to do here, we want to create those indices. So if we want to create those indices, then we need to what you can say that create indices, and then because we are going to use the multiple one, otherwise we can simply say that add the date of index, and inside the index we can say that names equal to index underscore mobile number, and then we can say that value is equal to, we can say that mobile number, and then we can say that it will be a unique or not. By default the unique is false, but we are saying that it should be true. So this is the index value that we have defined here. Okay, so we have given the name to that index, on which specific field we want to apply that index, and what will be the constraint, that it will be a unique or it will not be a unique. So we have applied that because we have defined only one index value, though that is fine, we can do that. But if we want to define the multiple index values, then we have to start that particular, and we also need to put that particular specific thing like this. And we also, after that we again put a comma, and then we can start the definition of the second index value. So again index value, I will say that value, I will say that user name, I need to put that into that double quotes, value is user name, and then I would say that it will be unique. Yes, it will be a unique value, the username, because username cannot, I mean multiple students cannot have the same username. We can also define the index, and then we say that value, that is last name, and it, I mean it can repeat itself. The reason is that maybe multiple students can have. So in this way we can define the multiple indices. Fine. The other thing is we have override this table's name. This particular specific column we want to define as a primary key, and it should be auto generate true. Okay, and we also want this particular specific SID, or we want to give a different column name to this one. So we can column info name, and then we can simply say that student underscore ID, then we can, I mean, this is not necessary that it should not have, it can have a space as well, but you can, I mean, depending on how you want to add the date of column info. Then again, name, we can simply we are simply saying that it is a first name. Then we are saying that column info, we are again saying that name, and then we are saying that it is a last name. Then we also have that particular specific add the date of column info, and then we are saying that name, that is our user underscore name, and then we are also saying that array of column info, and then we are saying that this is our name is equal to password. And then similarly we can have at the rate of column info, and these are the, this is again the name, we can say that it is gender. We also have the at the rate of column info, and then we are defining the database column name, that is mobile number. And after that what we can do, we can have all those setters and getters. We can say uh, alt control enter, no, alt enter, no, yeah, control enter. So we need to see that what is on the Windows, but in the MacBook it is saying that control and enter, it will show me all those information. So first of all I say that I want to getters, I want to set those get methods. So and then again I want to set those set methods. The other thing is that maybe for that particular specific SID, because it is a unique value, we don't want to have that set method here. The reason is that we don't want to change that auto generated value of the student ID, so we don't want to change it. So we deliberately remove that particular set values, set index values. Yes, get, we want to, we can access that value, we can get read those information, but we cannot change it. So we are all set with that particular specific students table in which we have defined the indices. We have that particular specific primary key, all those columns. I have added that gender one, okay, and then we have this mobile numbers. So this is the first entity that we have defined, and then we again we need to go and define the second entity. Again we are going to add that class. We can say that it is a course class, and inside the course class we again if we look at that, we need to have entity, and we need to have table name. Table name should be courses, okay, and inside the course table we have that particular specific information. What are those? So let me so we have that course information. So first of all it's a public int CID, course ID, and then we have a public string, we have the course name, and then we have a public string, what you can say that we have the public ID, course name, maybe we can say that course description, and then the similarly we can define that this is our primary key, it is an auto generated key, and we also want the column info names equal to course ID, and at the rate of column info, again we can say that what we can say, course name. So name, we can say that course underscore name. Let me put that instead of as a one word, and then again at the rate of column info, we can say that name, and then we can say that course description. So we are all set. We have defined all those things. So let me, one thing is here, we again say control enter. We want to have the getters, we want to get all the getters, and then we have again control enter, and then we say we want to setter. So of course we don't want to use the CID setter. We don't want to change that value in our code, so we deliberately don't add that setter function for that particular specific integer ID. So we have our set and get methods. Fine, everything seems to be perfect. It seems to be okay for that particular specific course table. So we have defined two entities, students and course, and now we define our third entity, that is our again enrollment. Okay, enrollment table. I press enter. So if we look at that, and we say that it is an entity, and I would say that this is our table name. Table name will be enrollments. Okay, and then we have this one, the public int enroll ID. Okay, and then we have the public int, we have what you can say that we have CID. Okay, so let me see what is, we have capital CID. Here we have the capital SID, but in the enrollment I deliberately try to give a different name, small CID, and the public int SID. Okay, so we have SID enrollment, and also we have all those information. So enrollment, or maybe I would say that EID, enrollment ID, and then I can say that this is my now we need to define a key that is a what you can say that primary key at the because this what we need, the enrollment ID will be unique. We can make it simple, but we can say that our primary keys. Okay, so primary keys are actually let me put those column info name. Okay, what's that? Oh, it's add the date of column info, not only column info, and name. So name will be the enrollment underscore ID, and a similar thing I can say that column info name, I say that this is our course underscore ID, and then we also have the column name, we also say that name, and then we can also say that this is our student underscore ID. Fine, so here we can say that it is enrollment underscore ID, and we also have again that will be inside course underscore ID, capital ID, and then we have our third composite key, that is our student underscore ID. So this is our primary keys and the tables. We have the columns informations. Okay, and then we need to again have those control enter. We have the getter informations, and then we also have to set informations, so we can only set those things. This, what we can say that this will be an auto, what you can say that, because we want to auto generate that ID. So how we can do that? Okay, so how we can do, can we say something like this? No, how we can generate that particular, because what we want, that we want to generate this particular auto. Let me see, auto generate, it does not give me auto. No, it is not allowing me. We need to find out a way, otherwise we have to provide that particular specific enrollment ID by ourselves. So maybe I can come down here and then say that primary key auto generate true. Let's see, well, this is what we want to auto generate, not the other ones. Okay, so let's see, I mean, with this particular specific primary key and that composite primary key, it is going to work or not. If it is no, then we will see that how we can solve that particular specific problem. And then we have that particular specific set methods as well. So we can say that control enter, we have setters. Again, we don't want to set the auto generated ID. Okay, so we have that specific information. I think that's it. So once we have defined those student enrollment and the course entities, what we need to do is to define that particular specific DAO, data access objects. So we can say that this is our database video demo DAO, and this is not a class, it is an interface. And we say something like this, and then add, you know that we need to annotate is as a DAO, and then we can define certain methods. The first thing is that we want to read all the students from the students table. So first of all, at the rate of query, we need to write that query, select asterisk from, look, I mean, because we have defined that specific students table name, it is giving me the options. So select static from students, and then it will return me a list of student, and read all students. Okay, so that is the we are reading the all students. What else we can have? Insert, and we are say that on conflict strategy dot replace. Maybe we don't need that, but I just want to show you that how you can set that particular specific on conflict strategies. So as you know that it is going to return me, it can return me the long value, the row ID, student ID, you can say that. And we can say that insert student, and it will take only a one student object as a parameter. And similarly, we can say that at the rate of update, we want to update a few information. So again, it we can return me an integer value, not up insert, we have update student, and it will take again a student object as a parameter. We have query insert update, and then add it again, we have a delete, and then again it can return me an integer value, delete student, and then we can provide that student parameter as a input to this one. Fine, so we have done this thing. And similarly, because we want to search the students based on their username, because we want to check that particular specific login information, so we can say that at the rate of query, we have at the rate of query, so we can say that select asterisk from students where username like uname. And of course that we need to define that what is a uname. So actually we are saying that it will return me a list of student, and we are saying that search student by username. Okay, we are searching student by username, so we are going to provide a string u name. Okay, so look at that. If as long as I have defined that particular specific parameter, it is saying that this particular parameter will be used in this particular specific place. So the column and the variable name, that will be as a parameter to our query. It will select all the column information about that student where the username is exactly or equal to the username that has been provided as a parameter to this particular specific column. Fine, so I think that is about the um, student table. So similarly, we can have the add the rate of query. We can say that select a static from courses. Okay, and then we can say that it will return me back a list of course, and we can say that read all courses, and it will not take any parameters. Similarly, maybe I can just copy paste these things instead of trying to read all those information here, and then we can just simply change that names. So instead of having insert, so we can say that insert course, and then instead of having that course 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 again we can say that we need to update the course course course, and then again we can say that course course, and then here we need to delete course. The same thing we can do for our enrollments. We are trying to define, instead of like we have these define these four methods for our courses table. So this is our enrollments table, enrollments, and then here we can simply say that enrollments, and then here we can say that this will become enrollment, insert an enrollment spellings, rename to what is that, enroll, MENT, enrollment. Okay, what's happening? I see Control Z. Yeah, so enrollment, that's fine. So again we can say that enrollment and enrollment. So here the same thing, we can say that this will be the enrollment, and then here will be enrollment 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 enrollment, and then the same thing is for the delete. Fine, so we have defined where we are adding our reading the information from the students table, updating, deleting, and inserting. For the course table, reading the information, insert, update, and delete. Fine, I think that should be fine about the DAO. And then finally we need to define that particular specific database class. So we can say that it is a database video demo. Okay, and the room database, so that will be our room database class, which is going to be the super class or the parent class of our okay. So, and the other thing is that class should be abstract. Okay, so this is an abstract class, so we have that particular specific class. So first thing is that we need to tell that this is a database, and the entities are, what are those? We have the student.class, then we have course.class, then we have enrollment.class. So we have those classes, and then we need to tell what you can say that the version is equal to 1, and then we can say that export schema is equal to false. So right now we have defined this, and after that we have two things that we need to define. First of all, we need to say no, not public, it's a private static demo database. No, not demo, because we are exactly the same name of this class. So we said database video demo, and this is our my db, whatever you want, demo, my demo db. You can give that particular specific this, but the point is this is a static variable of the same class, database class, that we are defining right now. And inside we have a public abstract method which is going to return me a DAO object. And if you look at, we have a database video demo DAO. Okay, database video demo DAO, that is the return type of this method. And we can say that get DAO object. Okay, and this is the method. This is the this is abstract method implemented by the Room framework. Yeah, implemented by the Room framework, automatically implement. We are not going to implement that particular specific method here. So the last thing is that we need to create a public static method which is going to return me a database of database video demo object. And we can say that create db or demo db, create demo db. I mean, we can give get demo db, create a database instance, create a demo db instance. So you can, this is the name of the method, you can choose whatever you want, but what it will be, it will receive a context as a input to this particular specific variable in specific method. So first of all, one more thing that we need to say, we say that it is a null value by default. Default value is null, and we can check if that particular my demo db is double equal to null, then we are going to create the database. Otherwise we are not going to create a database, and at the end we are going to return my demo db, whatever that particular specific thing is. If it is null, so we are saying that my demo db is equal to room dot room enter, because once we enter, it will automatically insert that particular specific room class inside our this particular specific class. So we can say that dot database builder. So again, look at that, we have two methods, one is the database builder, other is the in-memory database builder. So we are going to use the first one, and then we are going to provide the context. The first parameter is the context of that particular specific. So we context dot get application context. The second is the class name. So we can say that database demo dot class, not class, and then we finally give the name. And the name, what we can say that, we can say that db video demo 19s2. I mean, we can give the name, and then here we need to set those properties. Number one thing is that if do we want, I mean, are we going to allow those main thread queries? So right now, yes, we are saying yes, and then at the end we are going to say build that particular specific database and assign it to the my demo db variable, which is the part of this particular specific abstract class. And at the end we are going to return this one. So if you look at that, we have done all the things. So what we are going to now, we are inside our main activity. Inside the main activity, I am defining this public static um, database demo DAO object. So DA, so we can say that my DAO, and then in the on create method, and you know that we whenever we want to initialize our variables or the things about that particular specific activity, we are going to initialize them inside our on create method. So we say that my demo and is equal to database video demo, the database class dot create db instance, and it take the context. So we have that one. But the point is, up to now, I mean, if we talk about up to this point, it is going to return me a database object, and we cannot assign it this particular database object to our DAO object. So we, from this database object, we are trying to get our DAO, and once we are getting that DAO, that is we are assigning to our my DAO object. And now we can simply because we allow database operations on the main thread, so I can simply say that my DAO dot, I can call any method that will actually going to perform all those update, insert, delete, read operations on my databases. So I say that read all students. I mean, of course, in the beginning there will be no student at all. So up to now, so what we have done here, we have created these three entities, which are our data models. Then we have created the data access object. Then we have created the database object. And then here in this particular main activity, we have created that particular specific database, and then we are working on it. Okay, right now we are not going to display anything. Let me run this particular specific application and then see if everything is going perfectly fine. If everything going perfectly fine, it will show me this particular specific hello world thing. So maybe I can say that if uh, hooray, db is created. So let me run it and then see how it goes. So let me bring my Android emulator on this screen so that you can also see that what's going on. We have some mobile number reference in the index does not exist in the entity. So it is giving me it even without available columns are this. So it is giving me that mobile number, it is not there. So we are making some mistakes. So we say that mobile number, look, so we are saying that mobile number, but actually we say we override it to the mobile space number. Okay, so that is the column number, column name, but there we have given. So if I just go into that particular specific area, so we can simply say that we have the last name, username. I think that we also need to change that other parts as well. So this one will be our user underscore name, and here it should be last name, because we are saying that this will be our last name. And the similar thing is that the same column name that we have defined in the column info, we are going to use that one here as well in the value. So we have user underscore name and all. So maybe we can check the other part as well. So enrollment student, I think that should be defined. So let's see. We are, I mean, before we can compile, before we can run time, it is giving me those error messages about that structure of the data. So that will, before we can create it, we know that there is something wrong with our data model, so we can correct it. So let me run it again and see. Okay, user underscore name referenced in the index does not exist in the entity. Okay, we have username, value is equal to username. Okay, this is small n we are using the capital N. So what we need to do, maybe we can change it here or there, wherever you want. So we can we need to make them same. So maybe whether you change this N, small n to capital, or this capital N to small, so well, in the both way it is going to work for us. Okay, you cannot have a multiple primary keys defined in an entity if you want to declare. So look, I mean, look, this particular specific things, the errors that are coming up, how we are going to correct it. This is the thing that happen in the real life. So what we need to understand, we need to understand that particular specific message which is coming up. So again, as I told you in the enrollment table, so we are trying to auto generate that thing. Maybe what I do, I just try to remove that particular part here, and then we have this particular because what is saying right now, it's saying that you are trying to define multiple primary keys, and this is not acceptable. You cannot have multiple primary keys defined in an entity. So first of all, we are defining the what you can say that composite primary key, and then we are also defining that particular enrollment ID also as a primary key. So let me delete this particular part. One thing that we have missed here, and that is our enrollment table relationship with the courses and the students. So let me, because it's come to our mind before we can create that, otherwise it will create some problems. So we are saying that we need to have the foreign keys, and then we are trying to generate two foreign keys. Okay, so one foreign key is what you can say that at the rate of foreign key, and that particular foreign key we say that entity, not enforced, deferred entity. Entity is the student dot class, and then our parent column is equal to student ID, and the child column, we need to first put comma here, and then we have a child column. And if we look at that, our child columns, we have that particular, we have the student underscore ID. So we can say that student underscore ID, capital. The name should be the same. So we have defined the entity, the entity, the parent column inside the parent entity, and the child column inside this enrollment table. And then we also need to define an array rate of foreign key. Again, I'm defining the entity. Entity is the uh, course dot class, and then we have the parent column is equal to I think it's course underscore ID. We can check, we can go into the course, and then we can say this it's course underscore ID, and the for the student it is with space, with the course it is underscore. And so we have this one, and then we have the child child column is equal to course underscore ID. So we have defined these foreign key relationships as well. So let's again run that thing and see if everything is working perfectly fine or not. I think that it should be fine now. Yep, it is trying to install that particular specific application. It means hooray, database is created, because we have done this thing. We have initialized DA object, and then we also operate, we have also run that particular specific read all students. Yes, there will be no student records inside the table right now, but it has executed that particular specific query that we have defined in our DA object. So it has executed a query, it returned me an empty strings. For example, I can show you, for example, because it is going to return me a list of student. Okay, and then I can show you what you can say that toast dot make text this uh, students read from DB, and I say plus, and then I say that list dot size, it will return me the size, and then I say that toast dot length is equal to long and dot show. So if I just try to run that particular specific project again, it will show me that it has returned that db 0. It has 0 students read, but the point is it has performed that particular specific operation on the database. So now one thing I want to change in my database. Okay, I am going to remove that particular specific. I say that the main thread queries are not allowed on the databases. So if I do that, once I do that and try to run my code again, it will give me an error message. Look at that, it is showing me. So how I can find out what's happening over there? It's all of a sudden my project is stopped working. So we can go into that particular specific logcat, and inside the logcat we have, look, we are saying that emulator pixel 2 API 7, that is the emulator on which we are running our application. And then we are running that particular specific look at that database demo video lecture application. And here we are saying that show me all the messages, but here I am saying that I want to only see the error messages. When I see on the error messages, it is going to show me that particular specific error. And if we look at that, it show me that it say that in the main activity.java at the line number 25, line number 25, we are saying that we are performing that particular specific database operation inside our activity class. It means we are performing that particular specific operation inside our main activity. And because we have removed that authorization from .allow main thread operations, so now it say that no, you can't do that. By default, this is the behavior. And if we try to read that particular specific message here, you can see that cannot access database on the main thread since it may potentially lock the UI for a long period of time. I mean, right now we are talking about a very small database, small number of informations. It can quickly get out of that, but to finish that particular operation, and we are working on it. But if we have a very large database in which we need to retrieve some information which take a longer time, then your user interface is going to be like stuck. It is not going to respond to the student. So that's why they said the longer operations, they should go into a separate thread and not in the main u activity thread. Maybe that could be a activity, that could be a fragment. So all those things, they can't happen. Your network operations, that we will talk about in the later half, I mean later in some future lecture. So network operations are not allowed, database operations are not allowed in the activity in the main thread. So that why we can't work on it. So let me, to make it simple, what we can say that allow that particular specific thing dot allow main thread queries. And again, if I try to run that particular specific application, it will be work perfectly fine just like before. And then we have returned 0 students from the database. Okay, so this is what we have. We have defined our data model, student, enrollment, and course. We defined our data access object, we defined our database, and then inside the main activity we have initialized that particular, we created that particular database, and we get the reference of our DAO object with which we can perform the database operations. So let me stop this particular specific video at this point, in which we have created the database model, data access object, database object, and we have created that particular database object, and we have initialized our DAO. And later on, how we are going to build on that particular specific database access, and develop our rest of the functionality for our application.